Hi there, I'm Molly.
And I'm Jamie, and this is our From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast.
For 15 years now, we've been proudly helping breeders promote hundreds of thousands of pedigree livestock with our easy-to-use animal management-driven website software.
And let's not forget about Hired Hand Live, where over $1 million worth of livestock is sold online each year.
We're excited to bring you market trends, sales data, advice from your fellow breeders, and stories from the ranch.
Our software makes managing your website and your animals a breeze, so you can focus on what you love.
So let us handle your digital chores while you tune in to another episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Welcome to this episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Today we're visiting the beautiful pastures of Big Sky Livestock in south central Montana, and my guest is Lindsey Monk. I'm your host, Molly Clubb, and I'm excited to take you on another journey into the world of Texas Longhorns and the breeders who care for them. Thank you so much for joining me today, Lindsey.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So before we got going here, when we were doing a few tests, we were talking about snow, and it seems like you all have maybe a little bit more than we do.
Yeah, we got a couple inches on Monday, but it came in with force because we were actually stuck on the interstate coming back Monday night from helping Brett DeLapp. And so it came in, it was slick, some black ice, and it's here probably to stay for a while.
Well, aside from residing in Montana and having to deal with some pretty harsh winters, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've grown up here. This ranch has been in my family for several generations. The only time I really left is I went to college in Nebraska for a while and then came back, and I knew I always wanted to do stuff with agriculture and cattle and horses. And so here we are, and made a business out of it and did a little bit of twist from the traditional Angus and stuff and got some Longhorns on the side and yeah, just always enjoyed it. And I knew this is what I always wanted to do.
And how long have you been at it for now?
Well, I got my first Longhorns in 2007. But growing up, Grandpa always gave us a heifer calf. And so I've had cattle a long time. Got my first brand registered when I was 13. So it's been a lifelong investment.
And tell me a little bit about raising Longhorns in Montana specifically. Do you get some weird comments or weird looks from some of your neighbors, or how does that go?
Oh, definitely. So we are in mainly Black Angus country. We have a few neighbors that have some Red Angus or Hereford cattle, but nobody. Brett was the closest one that actually had Longhorns, and I just always enjoyed seeing them on the way into town. And some of the neighbors either really like them and think they're cool, or some of them don't understand why we have them.
Tell me a little bit about why you do have them. Like, what made you decide to kind of stray from the common, more common ranching theme around you and go with Longhorns?
Well, I guess I've always had a unique affinity, I guess, for anything that's unique. It started with my dad would get solid colored Longhorn bulls from Rob Erickson. So we would get red or black, and then we always threw them on our heifers for the calving ease aspect of it. And then when we'd brand in the spring, we'd dehorn them and everything. And most of the time we sent them with the other calves if they were solid colored, didn't have a whole lot of color. That's the big thing here is everybody wants the cattle to be cookie cutters. They want them solid black. They want them even. They want them the same size. That's why a lot of people, pull bulls and have a real tight calving group. And so we had those commercial bulls, and they were gentle, and I just thought they were cool and could feed them cake. And I enjoyed seeing Brett's, and I just liked them because they were different. And my grandpa wanted to get me a buffalo. Mom and Dad did not think that was a good idea. And so Longhorns were just kind of the next little thing that we could have that would be something different.
Now, a lot of folks, when you mention, growing up and living that close to Brett and Darcy DeLapp, they'd be pretty jealous if they know their bloodlines and what they've contributed to the industry. Do you feel like that, kind of fast tracked you getting started with the types of Longhorns that you began your herd with, or maybe your breeding strategy overall?
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like that was a huge bonus for me, and we would not be where we are with them without Brett and Darcy. They have been instrumental in everything we've had, and definitely their genetics are a huge foundation for our herd. So we're very, very fortunate.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. You mentioned you wouldn't be where you're at today. So walk us through when you first started to where you're at today, and maybe some of the high points, maybe some of the lessons learned.
Well, it started off kind of with a lesson learned. We had some neighbors that just kind of had like a commercial herd of roping cattle. I don't even know if they were 100% Longhorn. But when I was looking for that first one, I got a steer from him. And we got him in the corral. He'd just been weaned, and we had a bunch of calves in the corral that were also weaned, and threw him in with them. And we use like big haul truck tires for our stock tanks, so they're cut in half. And that way, they just don't break, and we've had really good luck with them, and they're durable. And we grain those calves when we wean them, and he was a little bit saucy, and he would go through that stock tank because we had it split in half so two pens could water. And he would get in there and zoom around and like kind of crashing into fences, and he was just a wild animal. And after he ripped all the wiring out of the float in that tank, Dad's like, "This isn't going to work. We got to do something different." So I returned him to those folks. And so the first one I got for a pet was not a petting animal type of animal, but I was fortunate then. I actually got a hold of Chuck and Barb Overturf, who were out on Pass Creek in Wyoming, not too far from us. And the first two I got were originally from Chuck, and they were just two cows, and they were red. I wanted solid colored ones, and they were pets for a long time. I could feed them cake, and they just ran with the Angus. So they'd have a couple Angus calves every year. Same thing if they were solid, sell them. If they had some color, we'd just feed them out and butcher them. And then I decided, I got these two nice registered cows, need a registered bull. And so I got to looking around on the internet, and I found Carol Muchmore in Oklahoma. And I called him Road Trip. I registered him Road Trip because we road tripped to Oklahoma and picked up the first registered bull. And so I started having registered calves, and of course 2 then wasn't enough, and because you got this bull. So then I called Brett up, and yeah, the rest kind of went from history from there. I got a couple from Brett, and it just it never slowed down, just kept gaining momentum. The more we'd help him, and the more I got to see his cows and be around them, it was like, yep, I want more. They're pretty addictive.
And so today on your website, you have a lot of cows with the prefix BSL, and you've consigned to sales, you've purchased at sales. Tell me a little bit about what you're breeding for today, and kind of what your overall strategy is for your herd.
Well, I'm a big fan of disposition. These cattle, they got to be gentle because a lot of people don't run them on the acreage we do. They're close to the house. And I like them gentle. So if the neighbors do get one, because a lot of people are intimidated by them. So we like them gentle. I like conformation, the milking. Horn is always a plus. I'm kind of leaning towards the twistier horn set myself because I feel like the breed has kind of lost that, chasing the tip to tip. And color, it's fun for me to have the color because everybody we go help anytime, everything around us is black or black brockle or a handful of reds. I mean, they're all solid. There's nothing unique. So the more color I can get, the louder they are, the more I like them. But obviously that's not everything, but definitely a big plus.
Now, for folks who maybe haven't looked at your website, or that maybe don't know you as closely as Jamie and I do, you have the way I would describe your herd is just beautiful, and I'm wondering how much of that goes back to. Now, this is the part where maybe a lot of folks don't know that you're a photographer as well. How much of that do you think goes back to your eye and your artistic eye of just appreciating, that, like you said, the conformation, but also the beautiful hide variations, and the photos on your website themselves are just, I think they make your cattle look even better because they're such great photos too.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I enjoy taking pictures. That's to spend time with the Longhorns. I mean, that's kind of a treat for me in the evenings or something in the summer or fall or even wintertime, whenever. If go out and take them some salt and mineral, check some water, get around some fence, and I always take my camera when I go out with them, just because you never know, the opportunity might arise and the sun's going to be just so, or the light, a lot of times I like to go in the evenings and get that light and stuff, and there again, that's where the disposition helps, because sometimes when I go out there, I don't get pictures of everybody because they're, coming up to see what I'm doing and they're too close. And so a lot of times when I first get out there, I kind of have to wait until I get boring for a little bit and they leave me alone so I can get far enough away to take the pictures and stuff.
Another thing that folks might not know about you is how hands-on and capable you are for, all ranching aspects, but especially working the cattle. Can you tell us a little bit about just your background there and how you operate day to day or week to week with the herd, and also just helping out your neighbors and kind of that Montana mindset of everyone being out there kind of on their own?
Yeah, still have a good sense of community, especially in this valley that I live in. It goes back to neighbors help neighbors. We've had a lot of fires this summer, and we don't have a fire department like you guys, most people do. So we are in Bighorn County. Hardin is our seat, I guess, and that's where our volunteer fire and people come from. So a lot of times it takes them an hour or better to get here, whether, if it's a fire, any kind of emergency ambulance, whatever they have to send. It transfers over to the cattle part of it. I mean, we have to help each other. You kind of got to get along, because when you need help, it's your neighbors are the closest. So branding time rolls around in the spring. I can pretty much almost tell you everybody has the same weekend. It's pretty consistent. We're going to be helping. My Uncle Mike's usually the first one at the end of April, 1st of May, and then it just kind of goes from there. I mean, the schedule, and when we help our other neighbors in the fall, I can tell you what pastures we're probably going to gather. It might not be the same day as last year, but it's almost the same weekend, and it's very consistent. And there's that sense of community of we all help each other. When this summer, when people would have a fire and you'd call, it was our neighbors that showed up first, and they are the first response. And yeah, that's just how we grew up, with that mentality, that mindset of got to help each other, and it works for us. Ben and I had an Angus heifer here a few years ago having a hard time calving. We started working on her about 2:00 in the morning, and because the head was back, could not get it. We called Jerry Jones, who's awesome, and he came right up. It was 3:30, 4:00 in the morning when he got there, and he showed up with a glove. And I mean, it didn't take him 15 minutes. He must have just jumped in the pickup and rolled down, and he helped us. We couldn't get her, and we were in town with her by 5:00 at the vet's, a little after 5. And it's just, it's a mindset, and you just grew up that way, just appreciating neighbors. And if somebody calls and needs help, you drop everything, and that's what you do, because they do the same for you. So yeah.
So you mentioned earlier when we were visiting, that you were thankful for the snow that you recently got because you all needed the moisture. And then just now you brought up, some of the issues with the fires this past summer. What challenges do you think you faced that maybe breeders, down south or even on the East Coast or closer to the West Coast aren't facing because of your terrain and your location?
Well, we're so remote, and a lot of these places are like, we're a small ranch compared to a lot of our neighbors. And because we're so remote, we don't have the resources, or it takes them a long time to get here versus other places. So like the fires was a big one. We had the Remington fire, which wasn't too far from where we run our heifers, and that was 200,000 acres. That affected a lot of people. A lot of cattle were lost. A lot of wildlife was lost. We ended up donating a load of hay just to help out, and the fencing materials. I mean, it's just huge. I mean, you also get all those environmental factors. I know you talked about it with Lynn Torgensen. We have the extreme cold, which it can be tough on frozen horns, on the Longhorns and stuff. And then where we are, we actually have a lot of ponderosa pine, which not only is fuel for the fire, but the cattle, if they eat the needles, it turpentine poisons the fetus, and they slough their calves. That is a huge environmental factor for us, and it's been tough. I mean, we'll never mitigate it, but it's just something that we are always aware of and trying to lessen the damage of. We preg tested our Angus cows here and kept everything that was bred, but ultimately, we know when springtime rolls around that we are going to lose some to needles. We've researched mineral programs, put protein out, and you have to be careful with the protein because sometimes the higher it is, it can actually make them go to needles. And it's just a real fine balance, but it's definitely a challenge that is always present for us, and one that we try to be very aware of.
And so, again, with being in that part of the country, is there anything special that you've incorporated into your program in terms of sustainability, or, any innovations with breeding strategies that you've had to take to kind of adapt to?
Our biggest thing I think that's helped us with like the needles and stuff is we actually calve a lot later than a lot of people. We have a barn, but it is not big enough to run the whole herd through. So as the cow goes, her higher requirements are that third trimester right after she calves. And we found that if we back those cattle off and there's green grass coming and stuff, and they're not as stressed, it's helped carry the fetus to full term. With our Angus cows, now our Longhorns, same thing, because they are very independent. They actually, even my 2-year-olds, 2s or 3s, first calf, they calve outside. And that's why I don't have a problem, if they don't calve till June, that's fine with me, because that's when the wildlife do it. That's natural here. There's lots of feed for them that time around, versus as if you have them calving in February and, they're calving and trying to lactate, and that's their highest nutritional time. There's not a lot of extra feed, other than what we give them here in February. So our conception and going full term has worked better if we actually backed them off later, because I just feel like they're getting what they need, because we can feed them hay, and we check the protein in it, we've tested it. But I just think, Mother Nature knows best, and it works really well for me and the Longhorns. If they don't want to calve till May or June, they're more successful if we set them up that way.
With doing that, do you feel like it creates any new challenges for you and Ben in terms of like if you want to purchase from a sale, or if your folks are wanting you to confine the sale? Does that play a role at all?
Yeah, it's a little tougher because the South Dakota sale, they have to be bred or young to go into the state of South Dakota. So meeting those requirements where we calve late, it's tough because I can't guarantee, the vet can't always tell that there's a viable pregnancy by the time it's time to go to Rapid City. That kind of puts a kink in things. I have bought some cattle that were bred earlier than I would like, and those ones do stay in the corral. They do get babysat a little bit more, just because it's an investment, and you got to take care of your investment. I see the effects of it, buying and selling. Mm-hmm.
What events are there in your area, or what events do you like to attend on a somewhat consistent basis to, just keep up networking and stay involved in that way?
So that's probably where I fail the most. I really, really enjoyed the Colorado sale that Gary Lake and Stan Surreal put on, but they no longer do that. And so consequently, my social life as far as the Longhorns go has suffered dramatically. We do go to the Top Hand sale and catch up with people in Rapid City. And then there is the Nile Longhorn show in Billings. And if it's not during the week when I'm working part-time, we try to slip up and just see people at that too.
And now let's hear from our advertisers.
Hey, if you love From the Pasture with Hired Hand, why not go check out my podcast? the Big Iron Podcast with Andrew Shigori, where we dive into the world of registered Texas Longhorns and what it means to be an agriculture entrepreneur in the modern world, with a little southern flair, of course. Find the Big Iron Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you a new Longhorn breeder eager to educate yourself on market trends and sale prices? Stay in the loop with our text messages. Get the latest updates, events, and insider tips on all things Longhorns delivered straight to your phone.
Stay informed by texting website to 888-700-8131, then reply with Longhorns. That's website to 888-700-8131. Sign up today and take your breeding program to the next level.
Looking for top quality Longhorns and a taste of true Texas spirit? Look no further than Cantera Cattle Company. Our passion for Longhorns shines at Old Gringo Ranch, where tradition meets excellence. Visit us online at CanteraCattleCompany.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for the latest updates and ranch life fun. Ready to experience it yourself? Schedule your visit by emailing CanteraCattle@gmail.com. Remember, God is great, Longhorns are good, and life is crazy.
Now, Jamie and I have seen you a few times. I know, I think maybe once or twice down at one of the Fort Worth sales and maybe at a few of the others, outside of your area. Do you try to kind of pick and choose and go to a few of those, or how does that work?
Yes, we try to go to those. Our big thing is what time of year. Because, our Angus cows, those heifers will start April. And then, we got all the cows calving, and then they're usually done by June. People are branding May and June, sometimes into July. We try to start haying in June, try to get that wrapped up first part of August, middle of August. And then in August, September, people are gathering to start preconditioning, and that rolls right into shipping. So it's really, really hard for us to find a time, I guess, to get away. We have gone to the Oregon sale a couple times, and that is one I enjoy. But yeah, it's more of timing. It's the time of year that's so hard. There's a lot of spring sales I'd like to go to, but even if we're not calving, somebody's got to be here. We got to feed these cows. I mean, it's an everyday deal, even if it's only a couple hours. You're kind of married to the place, got to be here and take care of them and check water and that kind of thing. So it's really hard for us to get away for any length of time.
Well, let's switch gears here and talk a little bit more specifically about your herd. Who are a few of your older favorites that, you kind of consider the foundation pieces or the matriarchs of your herd?
Well, my mom has made Rhubarb a pet, and she is definitely one of my favorites. The more twistier horns get, and she is a top caliber daughter, and she is always up, coming, wanting scratches. She's not a big body cow as I'd like, but just on her personality, she has become one of our favorites. She's pretty cool. I also have Shiny Diamond. That's a Bubba Tough Checks from Haltom's that I got from Lynn that I also really like because the disposition on her is amazing, and her conformation is more of what I'm striving for as a total package cow. And same thing, I like, she's very pretty brindle. She likes to come up and eat cake. And yeah, she's just something I feel like build a program around.
And who are a few of your younger ones that you're excited about and, are excited to maybe watch them pan out a little bit more before you start to promote them and all of that?
Our oldest Dawn heifer, I call her Centerfold. Dawn was out of, he's WA Desperado on the website, but he's out of WS Hydro and Old May. So a lot of twist. Dawn himself did not have a lot of total horn, but I really like the maternal side of his pedigree. So the oldest heifer I have, I've really been watching because I am anxious to see how she's going to develop and if she's going to have, take after some of her grandma and all that stuff. And she's got that pretty roan color that Hydra likes to throw. So I'm anxious to watch her develop. And then, of course, I kept a lot of Silver Saddles daughters that I've always been happy with. And then I also got a couple brush poppers from Brett that I have been super impressed with their horn growth and their body. They are big bodied heifers. A little more size is what I'm hoping to get. And I definitely think these heifers can add it because the body on them they've got nice size. So we'll see how they grow.
Any bulls or bull prospects that you're excited about?
Yeah, so I actually got one from Mandy Auden out at Wisconsin that I'm excited about, and his name is Most Rowdy, and he's just black and white. We're gonna throw him. I needed an outcross, because obviously my cow's pedigrees are pretty similar to Brett's, and I have a lot of that in the background, so I wanted to get an outcross, and he's gentle. He's got a nice body on him. His horns are leaning back. They're kind of going up, but leaning back. But he's out of over the top and overkill. So there you get that twist, and I'm just excited to see. We'll throw him on some heifers here this coming summer. So we won't see anything out of him till 2026, but I'm anxious to see what he does.
So Wisconsin, that's quite a ways away for you. Tell me a little bit about how you put the internet to work for you when you're looking for specific bloodlines or specific animals to bring in for those outcrosses.
Well, that's why I really like the hired hand when you can pull up the pedigrees and see the pictures. That's been huge because I am a very visual person. I am horrible at math, numbers. I have to see stuff. And that's where being able to look at those pedigrees and see those pictures and research them has been very convenient for me. And I can kind of, you can look at those animals. I really think the maternal side, especially bulls, 50% of your herd. And if you can look back and research some of those, that's a big deal, and kind of get an idea maybe of what they're going to throw and how it's going to all, genetics, especially if Longhorns are interesting. I just think having those visual aids and stuff like that can really help in the decision making when you're picking a herd sire.
Do you feel like having a hired hand powered website of your own has helped spread the word about your program and maybe make some connections that you wouldn't have been able to make, again, with being kind of located where you're at, or, not being able to attend as much stuff in person?
Yes, I think it has been tremendous for us because we got it in 2018, so 6 years ago. Actually, after when Faye still put the sale on, that's the first time we got the hired hand website, was right after that sale. And it has more than paid for itself because, just say you move one animal a year off of it. I mean, that's your website and then some. So it's been a very smart investment for us as a business. We also, I throw some horses on there. We also have that page. And I have a lot of people in just the state of Montana that get a hold of us because the horses popped up for them or something, and then pretty quick they're like, "Oh, you have Longhorns too." And it's like, yep, it's been a really good way for us to network. I mean, even just locally, the state of Montana, it's drawn a lot of people.
Do you ever hop on any hired hand live streams or sales to kind of just keep an eye on things that way, or maybe hit the bid button a few times?
Yes, I like to do that. If in wintertime, I'm better about it because I have more time. But it's fun to, actually see the cattle in the ring. And I have hit the bid button, and then I had to call Chris Johnson. And thank goodness he was a ring man down there. And it was like, Chris, I just bought a cow. You wouldn't happen to have room for her in the trailer, which luckily he did and graciously hauled her back. But yeah, I have to be a little bit careful there because sometimes I don't always have the discipline to not bid.
Well, you say it's a problem. We like it though.
Yeah. Yep.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Do you sometimes feel like you're the only one who doesn't have it all figured out? Rural life can be isolating, but it doesn't have to be.
Welcome to Ag's Most Okayest Farm Girls, the podcast for women who are craving connection, laughter, solidarity, camaraderie, and just overall encouragement in your everyday life and dreams.
Each week, your hosts, Annalise, that's me, and Courtney will cover topics such as farm life, mom life, making money online, side hustles, hobbies, sharing on social media, jobs off the farm, and so much more.
Us rural gals need to stick together, so saddle up for some fun, real, and unsolicited advice and stories from our everyday farm lives.
Grab a drink, we're Ag's Most Okayest Farm Girls, and we're here to help. Listen wherever you find podcasts.
From the Pasture by Hired Hand is presented by R3 Hilltop Ranch. Located in Chilton, Texas, R3 Hilltop Ranch has been breeding registered Texas Longhorns since 2006. What began as 3 heifers has grown into our current herd, which you can explore on our website at r3hilltop.com. We're passionate about loud colors, longhorns, and docile temperaments, but it's the easy-keeping, low-maintenance traits of Texas Longhorns that initially attracted us and continue to drive our herd growth. In addition to livestock, we proudly offer certified Longhorn beef products. Visit r3hilltop.com/beef to learn more. Thank you for listening and enjoy exploring our ranch online at r3hilltop.com.
When it comes to buying and selling livestock, trust is everything. At Hired Hand Live, we have a platform that breeders and buyers rely on, whether participating in a live auction, an internet-only event, or hosting their own online auction. Our secure, user-friendly system ensures that your bid counts, and every transaction is backed by our commitment to integrity.
Whether you're a part of a consignment sale or planning your own internet auction, Hired Hand Live connects breeders and buyers live and online. Discover why breeders trust us with their livestock auctions. Visit hiredhandlive.com today.
If we looked 5 years into the future, where do you think your herd's going to be? Where's your ranch going to grow and aspire to be by then?
I don't know. I'd like to have, I'm not necessarily going for the tip to tip race, but it would be nice to have some really neat twisty horn females started. 5 years, they probably won't be at their full potential, but it'd be really nice to see some having that cool twist and the color and more of the total package, I guess, of what I'm going for. Mm-hmm.
So if we have folks listening in your part of the country and they're thinking of maybe either just getting into ranching in general or, considering getting a few Longhorns, whether it be, like you said, for calving ease or, because they like looking at them, what advice do you have for folks listening?
Do some research, visit. Talking's cheap. My husband always says talking's cheap, and I agree. And knowledge is power. If you can visit with them and kind of get a feel, if it works out to actually go visit the place and look at the animals, that is another big advantage that would only help you in the long run. I had a gentleman lease a bull from me this summer, and he wanted to come out. It's like, yeah, come out and look and see. And we went out on the side by side and looked at the cattle. And he's like, I can't believe, he's like, they're out here in this big pasture and they come right up. And it's like, yes, that's, I want them to do that. They're gentle. And he was like, yeah, because I told him the bull would eat cake from your hand. He said, he's not going to be in a pasture like this. And I said, well, he's gentle, no guarantees. I mean, I'm not going to say he's not going to crawl in with the neighbors or something, but this is the background on him. This is how he was raised, how he's used to being handled. And it worked out, luckily for him. He took the bull, he used him for the summer, and he brought him back, and he came right off the trailer, and he came right up and wanted cake, and that's a big thing. I mean, I want to be kind of known or have that reputation for that kind of animal. I don't want them to be wild and ringy and stuff like that. If I have something that is not fitting my program, there are a lot of sale barns around, and I will send them without their papers. And if some cowboy wants to team rope, great, super. If it's a steer or bull or something that's not working, another outlet for me is I work part-time in a coal mine, so I have no problem feeding them out and butchering them. That's just my personal feel. I don't want to handle wild cattle, so I just prefer to avoid it.
Who's your all-time favorite Longhorn cow, dead or alive?
Oh, I don't know if she's alive or not, but I really like Horseshoe J Journey.
She's one of the most picked when I ask that question, I think.
Yeah, I just think she's cool. That is a total package. I have never seen her in person, but I just like the way that cow looks, and she's one of my favorites, hands down.
What about your all-time favorite Longhorn bull?
Well, this is probably going to seem pretty obvious, but I really liked Saddlehorn, and he was good to handle. He was gentle. The crazy horn shapes he threw, it was just neat, I think. And then, of course, he had that blue roan color, and yeah, so that one's probably fairly obvious. I really like Saddlehorn.
Aside from maybe some of the breeders you've mentioned already, is there any herd out there or maybe a breeder's philosophy that you just really admire or, think is top notch within the industry?
I really like what Hicks have been doing. They have conformation, they've got color, they've got horn, they're gentle. I that would be on the bucket list to go visit them sometime and be able to see their herd in person. I really like what they have going on in their program.
I have some rapid fire questions here for you. Are you up for some?
Oh, yeah.
All right. What's your favorite farm tool or ranch tool in your case?
Ooh, I'm a big fan of the skid steer.
What's your favorite snack to have when you're out on the skid steer or out on horseback going through your herd?
Well, it's not the healthiest, but we are famous for having Snickers. They are Snickers in the glove box. They're in the side-by-side. You name it, you can usually find a Snickers. They're in the saddlebags. Not the healthiest snack, but we pack a lot of Snickers.
Well, my guess is you don't have to really worry about them melting on you. They're probably closer to frozen than they are to melted.
Yes, yep. The only issue with the ones in the saddlebags is sometimes the mice enjoy them too, so you got to be a little careful there. But yeah, they last really well.
All right. Do you call it Coke, soda, or pop?
Coke.
Oh, I was hoping for a different answer there. I need to decide with us Midwestern Iowans and call it pop.
Yeah, no, it's usually a Coke, I'm pretty sure. Or I guess sometimes a soda, but most of the time it's Coke.
What's your go-to feed?
Go-to feed? We use Mugley's Cake a lot out of Miles City, and that seems to be, for the cattle, that's been kind of our go-to.
Is your dream ranch location where you're at, or is there somewhere else you hope to be?
I would not be against having pasture somewhere else. This place is awesome, except for in the wintertime. It's in the summertime, this is awesome, but we got grass, we got water. It would actually probably be better suited for yearlings versus pairs, but I still feel pretty fortunate to be here and yeah, because it's been generations in the making. So I wouldn't look at a nice winter pasture down south somewhere.
Do you freeze or hot iron brand?
We hot iron.
Instagram or Facebook?
I do both. I don't post the Longhorns on Instagram as much as I probably should. Facebook is probably my preference because I have an album for each cow and then I keep building on it, and that's just kind of my personality, I guess. I like that setup better. So I Facebook more than Instagram, but we do have both.
All right, you can only pick one here. What's your favorite Longhorn website?
My favorite Longhorn website? Oh. Well, this is going to sound very selfish and arrogant, but I'm going to say mine.
I like it. Did you ever used to watch Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yes.
Okay, so you know what a lifeline is then. If you had one Longhorn lifeline, who would your call be to?
One Longhorn lifeline. Well, I suppose it depends on the situation, but I call Brett an awful lot on stuff.
What's your ideal herd size?
30 or so, and right now I'm sitting more around 50, so I would like to scale it back a little bit. But they are like potato chips. Everybody says you can't have, gotta have more than one. Keep eating them. But 50's plenty for where I'm at right now. 30 would be probably a little bit more manageable.
What if you could only pick one word to describe your breeding program?
Colorful.
I like it. All right, Lindsey. Well, what haven't I asked you that you'd like to talk about or share with our listeners today?
Just enjoy them. I mean, I guess they're the relaxing thing for me, and I've really enjoyed having them. They have personality, they have character, and yeah, if you guys are ever up Montana and want to come look at cows, look us up because I enjoy visiting about them, and my husband enjoys them, and they're just kind of fun.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on From the Pasture with Hired Hand. We hope that our listeners have enjoyed this visit to Big Sky Livestock and learned something new about the world of Texas Longhorns. If you like today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And you can always explore more stories from the pasture by visiting our website or following us on social media, as well as following Lindsey's program. Until next time, remember to appreciate the pastures you roam and the traditions that make them. Thanks so much, Lindsey.
Thank you.
Imagine updating your website and managing your animals at the same time without needing tech experience. With Hired Hand software, it's that easy. Our user-friendly platform is designed specifically for breeders, allowing you to keep your site fresh and your animal records up to date in just a few clicks.
Let us simplify your digital chores while you focus on what you do best. Visit hiredhandsoftware.com and see just how easy it can be.